Good morning, everyone. Well, I wish I had some good news, but of course, this is some more bad news coming out. Now, this is from Realtor.com. It says homeowners insurance could jump another 16% by 2027, driven by higher construction costs, more severe natural disasters, and growing climate risk. And then there was some more on this article where this is from Realtor.com as well. Rising insurance and property taxes are making home ownership increasingly unaffordable in high risk areas. Property taxes are up 27% over the past 6 years, according to Catality, while homeowners insurance now makes up a record 9% of the typical monthly housing cost. And pressure isn't letting up. Catality projects insurance premiums will jump another 8% in both 2026 and 2027. And that's a bad thing, especially with young people that don't understand, that they go in, they find a house they like, it's in their price range, and they get it, and they're told this is your payment, this is locked for 30 years, and they're naive and not asking or even having somebody tell them this, that your property taxes will go up, your insurance will likely go up, and that will in return raise your mortgage payment. There's so many people that's tapped out. A lot of them overpaid for these, new and used vehicles the last few years. Some's got low interest rates that locked in. I think it was 2022 and before is when the rates were locked in. Because I know people that got that refinanced their auto loans at like 2.99%. I mean, that's almost nothing. When you got a rate that low, you're pretty much just paying the principal. So I wouldn't pay the vehicle off if it was me. I just let it ride, because the money's going to come out the same either whether you pay it off or whether you keep making your payments on it. But these people, they went out and they bought vehicles and this and that. Granted, we know how high the auto repossession is, but when you've got your auto loan payment here, and then you go and you price in a house, and like this is where you can afford excuse me, and when that keeps going up, it just throws everything off balance, and you wind up getting into trouble. But I know my property taxes, they didn't go up that little bit. Mine went up, mine almost doubled. It went up like 50, it was like 50%, I think, or 48%, something like that. I know my homeowners went up, let's see here. They went up, I think, the last 2 years straight with my homeowners. Now, like I mentioned before, when you have rental properties like I do, you don't pay as much on those as you do your actual homeowners, because you're only covering the structure and liability. Whereas with your homeowners, you're covering your clothing, your appliances, your liability, excuse me, all that garbage. But it's a lot of people's getting into trouble this way with all that their escrow going up, and mainly the FHA people. If there is that many people in default, excuse me, they were not able to afford the property to begin with, and they bought into it. I have some neighbors. There was a new house built around me. It was they sold it. It's on a half a city lot. A typical city lot in my neighborhood, which I think these houses were built around right about World War II or right afterwards. But most of the city lots around here, they're like 0.2 acres. So this property over here would be half of that. So, 1/10 of an acre, 0.10. So they had this new house built, and it was funny because I remember when they were looking at it, because they had a lot of people looking at it, and I couldn't believe the price they paid for it. They paid $250,000 for this little tiny house. But as soon as they got in there, I'm pretty sure they were USDA, and which means 0% down, U.S. Department of Agriculture. And as soon as they got in, they also bought a new vehicle. They went and bought all this new crap, and I'm like, man, you people do that shit. They go out and they get a house, then they go out and they get another car. They just keep racking up the payments on themselves, and 9 times out of 10, in an economy like this, it's going to catch up with you, and you're going to lose it. That's why I've been telling people, don't go into debt. I don't want to see none of you guys lose anything. And there's going to be a lot of people that will. I've had some people ask me within the last probably 6 months, year even, about, when I'm going to buy a house, what should I do? And I tell them, please paint. That way I won't have to paint when I come in and buy your house, because you're more than likely going to lose it. As these values go down, and it's spreading. It's not in the Midwest, at least in my area. It's not. We're still up. So people's got equity, but places like down in Florida, anywhere it's getting bad, their equity is less than what they owe on the house, so they're already upside down, and they'll either end up walking away from it or they'll lose it. A lot of people during the GFC, they were just so far upside down on their equity, they just walked away from the house. Was cash for keys. Banks were doing that. They would offer you, like a neighbor I had, next door neighbor. He filed bankruptcy, and he wanted to keep the house, but ended up he was losing the house anyway. So the bank offered, well, it was a real estate company that the bank used. They offered him $1,500 cash, as long as he was out by a certain date, didn't tear the house up, and all that. And that went on a lot back then, and people took advantage of it. You're losing your house, but you got a little bit of a cushion, you're starting over again, you go rent someplace. Got a feeling we're going to be seeing that again, too. But, it's this property tax stuff, it's ridiculous. Now, what gets me is they'll put in there, like, high risk, like natural disaster areas. Over the course of North America in general, United States, we see more tornado damage, especially here in the Midwest, than what it was 100 years ago, because there's more houses. So of course it's going to look like it's getting worse. Back 100 years ago, they didn't, how many people actually get to see every tornado? Half the tornadoes probably landed in the field, and nobody knew anything unless it tore their crops up. So they make it sound worse than what it is. But the big thing is, the biggest problem probably Florida. Because how many times you get a hurricane come through there, it just wrecks everything. I remember when Hurricane Andrew came through there just south of Miami and went into Homestead. All the times I've been out to the Keys, and because when I drive down, I'll take 75 to Naples, and I jump on Route 41, the original Tam-Miami Trail, and I don't go across Alligator Alley. I follow 41 all the way out till you get to the casino there to Indian Reservation, probably about 20 miles west of Miami. And then I go south into Homestead. But you get down into Homestead, and they've been doing developing, and they fix a lot of stuff up. But there's an area down there before you jump on the Route 1 to head out to Key Largo. It was a trailer park back in the day, and it's still empty. And that was in 1992. That was over 30 years ago, and it's gone. The slabs are still there. It would be a perfect idea if someone wanted to put a campground in there, but they just never rebuilt that. And which is ironic because it's not on the water. so you wouldn't have to worry about storm surge right in that area. But you know, it's, I don't know, like Mom's house, for instance. I drew a straight line from where her house is to the closest part of the Gulf of Mexico. I'm sorry, Gulf of America. I'm used to calling it Gulf of Mexico. I'll always call it that. But she's like, I think it was like 2.1 miles in a straight line to the water. So you're not really going to get storm surge to come in like that. It's if the hurricane hits during high tide. So, you know, the river's already backed up from the high tide. All that rain can't get out because the rivers are backed up, so then you get your flooding. But I don't know. It's with the insurance, I mean, you've got to shop around. And also, there's one thing you got to look at. People's been doing this. Instead of, you know, people go, oh, I got homeowners. If something happens, they'll fix it. Depends on how you got it set up or how they set you up. If you have total replacement, or you're going to do, oh crap, what's the other one I'm thinking of? They only give you a portion of what it is. I can't think of the word. I went blank, but it does drop your payment down. It will drop your premium, you know, down. I'm sorry, actual cash value versus replacement. Actual cash value. So, you know, let's say you got a roof and it's what? Let's say 5 years old, and we get a big hailstorm come through here, and people think that typically the insurance is going to put a new one on there. Well, if you have actual cash value, they'll take the value of the roof, then depreciate it over the lifespan of what they got, and you'll get that much less money, you know, that you're not going to have of what you thought to fix the roof, you know, minus your deductible. So you might not have enough to replace the roof. But like I said, shop around on that. Even on your auto policies, I'd shop around. But that's just some more bad news, which we all know that's, you know, everything keeps going up. So, which of course is not only going to raise people's mortgage payments, but it's also going to cause landlords to raise their rent. Even on the commercial side, that's going to cause the owners of those buildings to have to raise the rent because they got to offset the cost of what they're paying in insurance. So, anyway, have a good day, guys. I'm going to show you a little something I got. I'm working in the garage today. I got to get some of this stuff cleaned out. See all those totes back there? The totes, the black and the yellow lids. I put my firewood in those that I was carrying inside the toy hauler when I went to Florida. And kept it dry. That way I always had dry firewood, but not so we could burn down there because of the burn ban. So I'm going to empty all those out and make some more room in here. But have a good day. Leave me some feedback, you know. Have your guys' payment, have your guys' taxes went up, insurance went up? You know, are you guys struggling? You guys doing okay? Hope you guys like my content. Please like, share, you know, my videos. I appreciate it. It gets my numbers up. And have a good one.